So you think Test cricket is all about patience, long sessions, tight defenses, and maybe the occasional yawn, right? Well, not when Viv Richards is in the script. Antigua 1986. He didn't just walk out to bat. He stormed in like he was late to a bar fight. And 56 balls later, England weren't just beaten. They were wrecked, embarrassed. And Viv? He was still chewing gum like nothing happened. The man wasn't playing cricket. He was rewriting the whole thing. Maroon cap tilted, swagger loud enough to silence a crowd, and a bat that sounded like a shotgun every time it connected. And let me be clear, this isn't just a story of the fastest Test 100 of its time. It's the day Viv Richards made patience look like a waste of time. This was 1986, the era of the mighty West Indies, where tours by visiting teams were less about competition and more about survival. England had already lost 4 in a row, and I don't mean close battles. I mean proper, soul-crushing beatdowns. And now, in the final test of the series, David Gower and his men had to walk into the Lions' Den, St. John's, Antigua, the hometown of the king himself, Sir Isaac Vivian Alexander Richards. Confidence? Missing. Morale? Still somewhere in Barbados. The English team wasn't hoping to win. They were just hoping it would end quickly. Now here's the thing. Antigua wasn't just his hometown. It was his kingdom. And boy, was he in form. In his last 3 innings at this very ground, he had scored 114, then 2, and then a thunderous 178. And in the current series, he had already notched up scores of 51 and 87. And mind you, that was before he decided to go full beast mode. David Gower won the toss and chose to bowl. Maybe he wanted to exploit early moisture. Maybe he thought Botham would get his 2 wickets and break Dennis Lilly's world record. Either way, the plan backfired. Slowly at first, and then all at once. At one point, the West Indies were wobbling at 232 for 5. Desmond Haynes had done the heavy lifting with a classy 131. But when Viv Richards fell cheaply for just 26, England might have sniffed a rare opportunity. But cricket, my friends, has a wicked sense of humor. Because what walked in next wasn't just the tail. It was a demolition squad disguised as lower order batsmen. Malcolm Marshall smacked 76, Roger Harper bashed 60 of 65 balls, and Michael Holding played like Lara before Lara. 73 of 63 balls with 4 sixes. And here's the fun part. Between the 3 of them, they hit 8 sixes. England had chosen to bowl first, and by the time the dust settled, West Indies had piled on 474 runs. They hadn't just made England regret the decision, they had buried them under it. But to everyone's surprise, England didn't collapse. Graham Gooch and Will Slack actually stood tall. The opening stand pushed past 100, and it wasn't until 127 that the first wicket finally fell. Then David Gower played one of his finest innings under pressure, a fluent 90. They eventually posted 310. Not a winning score, but not a disaster either. The deficit was 164, and for a brief moment, it felt like we might have an actual contest on our hand. But that illusion was about to be shattered, because when West Indies came out to bat again, Viv Richards hadn't had his say yet. Desmond Haynes and Richie Richardson walked out like men on a mission, putting on 100 in just over 2 hours. Then Richardson got out. And suddenly, the noise in the crowd shifted. It wasn't panic, it was anticipation. There was still about 30 minutes to go before tea. That's when he walked out. Viv Richards. And he didn't just walk, he arrived. Cap tilted perfectly, gum popping with every step. That signature stride, like a man who knew the stadium belonged to him. Antigua stood still and England started sweating. And then it began. When Richards had taken over the captaincy from Clive Lloyd, some doubted whether he could lead while still playing his natural game. In fact, Jeff Boycott, ever the expert on not hitting, claimed Viv's days as a big hitter were done. Well, Viv clearly heard that, and he took it personally. By the tea break, he had faced 28 balls and was 28 not out. It looked like measured aggression, but the break only made him more dangerous. Gower reportedly asked his team, "Anyone fancy bowling to him after tea?" Silence. Eventually, Ian Botham stood up, 2 wickets away from history, and decided to give it a shot. Bad move, Beefy. Very bad move. Botham charged in, chest out, hoping to rattle him. But Viv didn't just absorb the pressure. He answered with fire. Ball after ball, he took Botham apart, hammering him to all parts of the ground. Then came John Embury, the spinner. Viv lofted him into the long on stance, not once, not twice, repeatedly. The ball was disappearing so often, you'd think the West Indies were trying to cut down on fielding practice. One of those hits even cleared the stadium entirely and landed in a nearby prison. No joke. A prison where, believe it or not, Viv Richards' own father had once worked. Then came the 50 of just 35 balls. Most players would slow down, maybe take a breath. But Viv's? Nah. Botham decided to bounce his great mate from Somerset. Viv hooked it so hard, it shattered a bottle of rum. True story. The ball was returned from the stands with a piece of glass embedded in the leather. That's not a cricket shot. That's a warning. He sent the next one over mid-off, then over mid-wicket. 6-6-6. Shilberry recalled, if there was any element of doubt in his innings, it was whether he would hit a 4 or a 6. Then came one of the most iconic moments in Test history. Embury bowled a slower one. Richards mistimed it, lost his bottom hand grip mid-stroke, but he went through with it anyway. And the ball still cleared mid-wicket for 6. One hand, one swing, maximum. Next ball 4. After that, another 6 over extra cover. At this point, Embury didn't need a captain. He needed a priest. He looked at Gower, shook his head, and basically said, "Mate, I've seen enough." Embury's figures went from respectable 9 overs 1 for 14 to nightmarish 14 overs 1 for 83. And it wasn't over yet. With a nonchalant sweep, Viv brought up his century in just 56 balls, the fastest Test 100 in the history of the game at the time. His second 50, scored in just 21 deliveries. Crowds stormed the field, not just because they had seen 100, but because they had witnessed a moment that would live forever. This wasn't just a local boy making good. This was a king returning to his throne. Viv batted 2 more balls. One went for 4, one for 6. Then he walked off. Just like that. 110 of 58 balls. 7 fours, 7 sixes. A strike rate of 189.65. Let that sink in. 189.65 in a test match. During Richard's stay at the wicket, 146 runs had been added. and the West Indian total read 246 for 2. England was set 411 to chase. By the end of the day, they were 33 for 2. The next morning, they were bundled out for 170. Roger Harper bowled like a strict librarian. 12 overs, 8 maidens, 10 runs, 3 wickets. The final test was done. The series 5-0. Blackwash. When people today ask which player from the past would dominate T20 cricket, the answer is easy. Viv Richards. He wasn't just ahead of his time. He invented a new tempo, a new attitude. In an era where scoring at a runner ball was seen as risky, Viv was scoring at over 3. In that 87-minute hurricane of hooks and sixes, Richards didn't just break a record. He broke the spirit of an entire team. Fastest 100 or not, what Richards did that day was timeless. Because records may fall, but legends like Viv Richards, they don't just live forever. They own forever. So guys, that's it for today's video. If you want to see how Viv Richards won the World Cup single-handedly, or how good was Richie Richardson, click on the videos being displayed on your screen. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Until next time, keep watching this beautiful game. See you soon.